Hey, so usually when people talk about this topic, it's very like drab, it's very dark and stuff like that. But I lost my dad 3.5 years ago to skin cancer, and looking back, it was the biggest blessing of my entire life. Even though that may sound insane and may not make sense, what's happened since then has kind of like inspired me. So I guess I'll just talk about it. But going back to the beginning, growing up, my dad was like my everything. Like it's hard to say that because that's like what everyone says, but I was pretty much bullied by 90% of kids that I was best friends with. Like if it felt like every time I had a best friend, they would just end up bullying me or leaving me or doing something like that, and it just never worked out. So I consoled so much myself in the time around my dad that I didn't really have an identity except with him. Like I didn't have any girlfriends. Trust me, I was not even remotely close to doing anything. And I was undersized, so I didn't really play any sports. And even if I could, like I had massive self-confidence issues, so I didn't really have anything. So growing up, I was super dependent on him for joy, for like happiness, for giving me like a reason to be like, you know what, I'm excited. I remember we'd always, like from the time I was a little kid, we'd see like the Marvel movies. I remember going to see Avengers back when I was like 10 years old, coming back, and just those times with him were just, it was incomparable to anything else I was like experiencing in life. It was either it was that or nothing. Like it really didn't matter what we were doing or what it was always so much better. And as I grew up, I was kind of like, I guess I kind of didn't really think much about it. I was just like, oh, he'll just kind of be there, like, and I'll just live my life, do whatever, the normal stuff. But around, I think it was end of junior year, start of senior year or something, I realized that he had cancer, and it turned out that he had an initial one, like an earlier stage a few years back, like freshman, sophomore year, but they just didn't tell me because they didn't want to worry. But this time around, it was like a more intense one. To be honest, I don't know the stage, but it was one where it was life threatening. And so at a certain point, you got to tell it to understand what's going to happen. So hearing that and going through that, I think that was like 2018. And I remember during that time, like it started setting in, and what happened was I started to feel less and less just going through life. Cause like I said, like I was talking about, my entire connection, everything about me was put into like my dad. Like I didn't have a life outside of that. Like outside of that, my life, like sure on paper it looked like, oh, I got friends, I got family, I got this and that, but I wasn't really connected. Like like don't get me wrong, I had friends, family's awesome, and stuff like that, but it was weird because I wasn't really feeling anything except around him. So when he was dying, like little by little, it was like I was dying. It was like a part of me, like the past version of myself was dying, like with him. And so as he kind of got bedridden, he was only really drinking one thing. Like he was not eating. You could tell his body was just not responding anymore. Like he wasn't my dad. Like in a lot of ways, he wasn't my dad anymore. Like he was a version of him that wasn't really there because he was just dealing with so much pain and so much stuff, and it was difficult. And there's a lot of times where I couldn't see him because he was in so much pain and in so much difficulty. So I just kind of went through that. Thankfully, there was a foundation of like trusting and faith and like knowing that, hey, it's going to work out. Because earlier on and stuff like that, like getting bullied and all that stuff, it's very minor compared to this, but it helped me, like going through that and like growing and stuff like that helped me learn that there's like better out there and you just got to go through stuff. But it still caught me like blindsided because, I mean, how do you care about anything else in life when your everything is you're losing your everything, like everything, like it's equivalent. Like I bet all my chips on my dad and he died. So I have nothing. I have nothing to work with. So what I was doing as I was losing myself and as I was, whatever, it was the start of college. So I was like at the dorms and stuff like that. And it was the start of like my acting days. Like might as well have got an Oscar or something like that. But I was just acting like I was fine. Like I just didn't tell anyone what was happening. I would leave and say like, oh, I'm government doing with family when I go see him in the hospital or do whatever the heck. And it was just normal. Like it, weirdly, even through all that, like there was never a time that it didn't feel like normal. Like it felt as twisted and weird as it sounded, even till the day he died and passed, then it's felt normal. Like, it's felt like what's supposed to happen, which is very strange. And usually the tales are like, oh, you lose someone like that and then going to drugs, going to alcohol, do this, do that. But it's like, I just never, like it just was never a thing because it just felt normal. So kind of going back to it, you could tell he was kind of slowly but surely going away. I remember on one trip, I tried to like pick him up off the boat. He was sitting down. I tried to grab it, and it was like, he was just like in pain. Like you couldn't, like he just didn't have power to move it like as much as he did before. Like he could barely walk, and it was like, dang, like it was tough because in a lot of ways he's the closest version of myself that's out there, and really the only version of myself that was still alive. Because I had an uncle who shared some similarities, but he died like years before, and it was really tough because it wasn't that there was like there was anyone to like that kind of, I don't know, I felt like it was me and him, like that was it, the dynamic duo. Like it was gonna be, maybe he passed away when I'm in my 40s or 50s, or that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, okay, it'll probably be like then. But when this happened, I was like, oh shoot, like I don't have, like what do I have? What is my life outside of him? So as he going that, whatever, and then around COVID time, he passed away. Thankfully, it was in hospice at our house, so I was able to spend time with him and see him. But by that point, I mean, he was there, but he couldn't speak, and so he could only like whimper or like do stuff or whatever, and completely bald, like pretty much like a skeleton in a sense. Like I don't know if that's too graphic or whatever, but you could tell it was it. So in like the middle of the night, he passed away. My like stepmom woke me up and then said the goodbyes, and then I just remember going to my room. I just threw on whatever music reminded me of him, and for the next like however many hours, just crying my eyes out, just like nonstop crying until like 5, 6 o'clock. Like I think he passed away at 1, so just hours on end, just repeating the same like 3, 4 songs, just going over and over and over, just trying to cry. And then from that moment on, life just changed. Like it wasn't that my situation necessarily changed. Like I was still going to college. I mean, COVID changed stuff in a sense, but I was still going to college, still lived in the same spots, still was whatever, but now it was nothing. Like I wasn't feeling anything. Like at night, what I would do is I would listen to the same kind of songs and try to remind myself of the feeling, try to feel sad, like actively do things that make me feel sad because I wasn't feeling anything outside of that. So throughout that summer, 2020 summer, like COVID and stuff like that, it was very like locked in. So you're like, yeah, I was forced to like reevaluate and stuff like that and see what was going on in my life, and started a YouTube channel back when I was doing a whole bunch of just little things, just trying to figure out what I liked. And a lot of my passions, like my passion for sports kind of dropped a ton. My passion for little things, like my care also for things. Like it's tough to care about anything that doesn't matter anymore. And that's I would 100% say it's a blessing, but like I can't care. Like it's been like 3.5 years since, and I can't care for anything that doesn't matter. Like it's not even a thing like where it's like, oh, I don't care. It's like I cannot care. I cannot feel or cannot connect to stuff that doesn't have any actual purpose or whatever in my life. Like it's just not possible. It's literally not possible for me to have that anymore. And it's cool, but it's crazy. It was weird because I remember when I was going through that feeling that I was like, it's a thing like you go through loss, like everyone experiences loss in some form or fashion, but going through it when it was so overwhelming to the point where I was like, it wasn't just like, oh, I had to rebuild a little part of my life, or, oh, is this? It was like my entire life would just crumbled. And I was like, I honestly had no idea what I was going to do with my life. If I didn't have faith or anything, those next 2 years, I probably would have done something or ended up, there's an extremely high likelihood I would not be here if I didn't have faith. Like, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that it was God, it was trusting and believing that got me here. Like this stuff that like, it wasn't like the next 2.5 years, I didn't feel anything. Like it was legitimately like nothing, isolating as like heck. I mean, it's the epitome of like feeling lonely, even when you're around a billion people. Like I'm super great friends, super great family, like I've talked about before, but it's like, I just didn't feel, I wasn't feeling, it was really tough to care about school, honestly, like caring about college. I graduated and I just didn't care. Like I just didn't care the other times because I'm like, it's just not, doesn't feel like me. Like it didn't feel purpose. And that's kind of how I felt with a lot of my life. Like if a lot of the reason why I didn't feel anything those next few years is because I was trying to define what that purpose was. And it turns out a lot of my life was lived without any purpose, any reason. Like I was just doing stuff just to do stuff. I was doing stuff because other people told me to. I was doing stuff because of that. But I realized like you gotta define life by purpose. And it was like, this was one of those where I was like, I have to do it or I'm screwed, very screwed. So yeah, so the next few years didn't feel anything, kind of pretending. Then I ended up meeting this girl at this place called Feed My Starving Children. It's this like little place where you pack food and stuff like that. But one time I was sitting at these benches and then there was this girl and I was like, is this girl from class? And she turned around and opened something at like a locker and it turned out to be her and I was like, oh damn. She was one girl that I always thought was pretty. She was just nice. She's a cool person. I just started talking to her because I was like, okay, what are the chances? And then didn't even get her name or anything. I just talked to her or whatever, stuff like that. Then she left and see you in class or whatever. But what happened, like when I got in my car after that, it was like, it was as if like something changed, like some little flick or spark or something happened where I was like, holy, I don't want to curse, but holy, I feel again. Like I feel again, like I feel emotions. Like I feel joy, like I feel happiness. Like it was back and it was weird because it was almost as if it was more than ever before. Like more than when my dad was around. Like I felt that more. So I was like, holy, like it changed the trajectory. And that was like just over a year ago. But then just going right back, going back into it. So I felt that and then I remember anytime I see this girl in class, I was like, holy crap, I gotta find a way to get her name. Because like, what just happened was nothing short of a miracle. It was literally a miracle. When I look at my life, when I look at anything that's happened up to this point, that is like the thing outside of like losing my dad. Those are the two things that happened that I can't explain. Like it just so much impact on my life. I can't explain it. So I was going through that. I was like, I gotta find her name and it took a while. Like there was a lot of times, there was a lot of just being too nervous to end up asking because she was with her friends or whatever. And a lot of breaks and weekends spent just like, oh my God, holy crap. I remember one time I tried to get her soap, like a soap thing, because like she didn't have one, and it turns out she already bought one. So I literally just walked up to her. I was like, hey, do you want this or whatever? Something like, she's like, oh, I already got it. I was like, it was a very interesting experience. So, but no, I did that. Eventually, worked up the courage to get her name by scaring her. I was like, hey, and I like scared her like from her back. She was like, what the? And got her name. Ended up going to Feed My Starving Children, same place, because they had an event at ASU that weekend, which is pretty funny. Actually, the same weekend I'm recording this, and same weekend that I'm gonna probably end up doing it at the same spot, which is pretty funny. But no, it was crazy. I went to that. I remember at the event, I was like, we were like packing, or we were gonna do this one thing, and she's like, no, we'll do this. And then we were doing the thing, and I just remember there, I was like, yeah, I knew it probably wasn't gonna be, like it didn't seem like it was gonna be the thing, like it was gonna end up being anything more than just like a friendship or something like that. But I remember like just hanging out with her, I was like, wow, I felt like I was on cloud nine. We were just packing, and I just felt like euphoric. Like it felt that, like the feeling is something that I can't explain because it's better than my best feelings I've felt up to that point. Like it was just the best. And we talked a little bit. I talked about, of course, my dad, losing my dad like immediately, and talked about all that. And it was just crazy. And the way I felt, the connection there, it changed everything. So then like a few days later, I eventually told my roommates, I was like, hey, you know what? My dad passed away 2.5 years ago. I just didn't tell you guys, stuff like that. And then I started just opening up and talking to more people. And it's all because of this girl. Like, don't get it twisted. There's zero chance I would have done any of this without meeting her, because she changed me so much that I can't explain it. And so after that we kind of just whatever, hung out like a few more times. You could just tell, like, my gut feeling was like, okay, this is probably not going to end up thing. She wanted to like go travel and do anything, and I have my own aspirations, stuff like that. So I was like, okay, eventually it's going to be whatever. So around like middle of that next year, started seeing her less, like didn't see her for like 3 months, and then didn't see her like whatever. But I realized that I was starting to feel stuff on my own. Like I was still in pretty much the identical situation. And there was a lot of stuff I didn't like about it, but I was still feeling good. And I was feeling good on my own. And that was something I was like, oh damn, like I thought I was just gonna feel good when I was around that person. Like back when I was numb, back in during that 2.5 year time, I was like, okay, I think what's gonna happen is it's gonna be falling in love, it's gonna get me out, but I thought it was only gonna be that. Like only gonna be being around that person that made me feel anything. So actually, although like I still had the love in my heart and still whatever, so maybe that was propelling me, but even when I was by myself, I was feeling better. And that carried on through crazy unpredictability, like just having no idea what was going on, getting rejected, almost failing classes, this, that, and the third over the next few months. And I was just like, dang, like I just, knowing that there's better out there was what I needed to get started and do my thing. Like I just knowing that was better is out there was so huge, and so thankful that I met this girl. And so I, over the next few months, kind of felt whatever, kind of ramped up, and it just caused me to just keep pushing my limits, keep doing whatever, and I'm feeling purpose and passion in what I'm doing. Like, I feel way better now than I did ever before my dad died. So that's why I consider losing my dad the biggest blessing of my entire life, because I can't put it into words how important, and I loved him so much. Like, like there's no one but me and the man above that will know how much I loved my dad and how much of a connection we had and how much I miss him. But it was the biggest blessing that he passed away and that I lost him. And honestly, he was feeling like terrible. Like it wasn't life at that point. So I know he's in a better place now. And truthfully, like it's helped me so much find myself, discover who I am, define my own lane, and not just do stuff for other people. Like I'm actively doing my own thing, actively working towards stuff I'm passionate about, even if it's unpredictable as heck, even if I'm going to the unknown, even though I have no idea what's next. I know at the very least I'm doing it for me and for the man above. I'm not doing it for anyone else. So yeah, it's crazy, but I know till the day I die, I'm gonna keep pushing my limits, keep doing my thing, and do what I can to honestly honor him, because his name is in my name. My name is Ethan Patrick King. His name is Patrick King. So I'm literally carrying his legacy with me every day, and it's something cool. And I'm not gonna do it. My trajectory and his are very different. Like I'm not gonna do pretty much any of the same stuff he did. But just carry the spirit and do my thing. And my aspirations and stuff I'm wanting to do are ridiculous. Like it's tough to even explain them to anyone around me, because I'm like, I want to do things that I don't even know what they necessarily are. I'm just listening to his heart, listening to stuff that's been in constant change ever since losing Pat and meeting this girl. And it's crazy. It's weird to live life this way. And I can't wait to see what's next, and just trusting the man above and having faith is really the key to that. So to anyone going through difficulty, anyone going through loss, grief, or anything, just know it gets better. Just trust that it will be fine. It doesn't have to be, if you're not religious now, whatever, just trust. Everything that happens is the best thing to happen to you. Just know that no matter what happens. Honestly, the most difficult things in life, the toughest things, are the biggest blessings. So I honestly, like, I want challenge. Like, give me challenge, give me difficulty, give me unknowns, give me toughness, because it will lead to great things down the line. And hopefully this resonated with anyone watching. To anyone out there, you can do whatever you believe in. Just do your thing and keep going. Have a great rest of your day, and God bless.